You're listening to the Vibrant Vision Podcast, a podcast designed to help you get clarity, increase your confidence, and cultivate the most important connections so you can have the impact you were created to make. I'm your host, Amanda Kerrigan. Now let's get to making that vibrant vision a reality. Welcome to another episode of the Vibrant Vision Podcast. This is episode 11, and we're continuing on with our series on confidence killers. And this one is a big confidence killer, and that is the lie, I'm just not a courageous person. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard the phrase, "You're so courageous. I wish I could be as brave as you are." I've heard it in the grocery store, the mall, at church. And just in case we haven't met yet, I am not a hero. I'm not somebody who has been to war like the veterans I serve at the VA. I'm not a police officer. I'm not a firefighter. I'm not anything but a life coach and a government employee and a musician. Occupations that really don't require that much courage. So why do people always say that I'm a courageous person? Because I'm just a woman doing the thing. And I can tell you the reason is I'm a woman doing the thing who happens to be blind. Pretty much completely. I have some light perception and I can see like shadows and silhouettes. Mostly, if we were to meet, you would be a big blob, which is highly complimentary to most people. And people assume that because I'm blind, I'm courageous. I've been hearing this since I was 7 years old. I remember being in the grocery store and some lady came up to me and told me how courageous I was. And I didn't understand it, and I asked my papa, and he's like, that's because most people wouldn't live their lives because they were blind. And being told that I'm courageous has always made me a little uncomfortable because, to be honest, I don't feel courageous. I don't feel brave on most days. As a matter of fact, most days, I feel kind of fearful sometimes, and I feel overwhelmed, and I feel exhausted. Don't feel courageous. And one thing I've realized over the last few years as I've been coaching people on confidence and walking out my own journey with confidence is that we've all embraced, not just accepted, but embraced this lie that we are not courageous people. I'm just not brave enough. I'll be the first to admit I've embraced this lie. It doesn't really take a tremendous amount of courage to do what I do. And the only reason I think you and I think this is because we've become desensitized to the courage it takes to live our daily lives. I mean, how many times do you actually think about the probability of you getting in a car accident every time you get behind the wheel? I don't want you to be afraid, but it's pretty high. Comparatively speaking, it's pretty high. But you don't think about it. It doesn't take courage for you to get in your car and take your kid to school. The fact is that you and I are very courageous. And we keep telling ourselves a different story. I'm not courageous. I'm not brave. I am afraid. I am fearful. So let's back up. After all, we've been talking about confidence killers, and is courage the same thing as confidence? And I would submit to you that no, it's not. So what's the difference between courage and confidence? Confidence is a belief in ourselves and our abilities to succeed and to overcome any challenges that might get in our way. We move forward knowing that if there's something that happens, we can figure it out. And we can face that uncertainty. Courage, on the other hand, is the willingness to act in the face of fear. Or as President Franklin Roosevelt once said, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important. And I would submit to you that your life, that something else, the life that you really want to live, is more important. And the lie that trips us up is that courage is the absence of fear. And so when we feel fear, we just say, I'm not a courageous person. And that is what kills our confidence. Once we embrace that we have fear, but we can still be courageous and we can still be confident. We can still have the ability to face uncertainty and to survive it. Then we will truly be confident. Most days I am, but I'll admit to you that there are some days when I'm like, oh my gosh, I can never figure this out. I can't figure this out. That's part of the human condition. But the thing is, how are you operating on most days? And how do we combat this lie on a daily basis? And usually I give you 3 steps or 5 questions or some other coaching formula that I've used with my clients. But today, because if you're like a lot of my clients, you know what needs to be done. You just haven't embraced your ability to do it yet. The problem is that it feels like it's too big or too scary or too much. And consequently, you feel like you are not enough. And so you don't try. And that's not it at all. It might be too big or too scary. I mean, as the saying goes, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And you just need to take one little step each day. The secret to living out a vibrant vision isn't that we take big leaps of faith, but that we take small steps of courage. Your vision should scare you. It really should. It should be so big that it scares you. If it doesn't, it's not big enough. Go back to the drawing board. But your next step should not scare you. At least it shouldn't scare you that much. So break down your action steps. From that big, hairy, audacious goal, what is the next step that you can take? I'll give you an example from my personal life. One of my goals for Q1 is to put together a set of music and then perform that set with just me and my keyboard. Previously, I've hidden behind backing tracks, so any mistakes I make can usually get lost in the mix of the music. Performing with my instrument, I'm just going to be honest, feels a bit like that dream we've all had of showing up to school naked or showing up to work without our pants. In a word, it feels too big when I think about this whole set. But when I break down the steps, choose the first song, choose the second song, find a video to get ideas on some new techniques to perform this song. Practice, practice, practice. Those steps don't require a tremendous amount of courage at all. And when I get up on stage, I'm sure people will tell me how courageous I am. And I'll smile and I'll think, but I'm not really that courageous. Because truthfully, the most courageous people tend to be the most consistent people. Because we cannot take big leaps without little steps first. And courageous, consistent people are the people who are in the trenches when everyone else has given up. They are the people who know that what they're doing is creating kingdom impact. So here's my question. What's the one step you can take today to become a consistent and therefore courageous person? Because consistency builds courage, and courage builds your confidence, the belief that you know, no matter what happens, you will be able to figure it out. You will be able to face uncertainty. This doesn't mean that you won't occasionally have to summon your courage. After all, the greatest things in life require the most risk. Stepping out on that stage will require me to summon a tremendous amount of courage, no matter how much I practice. But it's part of me living out my vibrant vision. Or as G.T. Shedd once said, a ship is safe in harbor. But that's not what ships were made for. And you were made for more. You're not supposed to stay in the harbor. And so I want to leave you with this question again. What is the one small step that you will take to become a courageous person and live out your vibrant vision? Because you are worth it. You were made for more. If you've enjoyed this podcast, if it's helped you grow and become a more courageous person, would you do me a favor? Would you just leave a review in iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts? It helps me reach more people. And that's ultimately my goal. That's my vibrant vision, is that more people would be able and empowered to live out their vibrant vision. And if that's you, I really just appreciate you leaving me a review. We'll be back next week with more confidence killer episodes. Until then, live out your vibrant vision.